Welcome back to NeuralWire News. Here are the biggest stories from the United States today. The latest USA-Iran tension, a key jobs update, Wall Street reaction, an immigration controversy, and a major election shock are all making headlines. Let's get straight into the news. First, USA-Iran update. The latest update from the USA-Iran crisis. Reports say the United States carried out fresh strikes on Iranian targets after renewed violence around the Strait of Hormuz. Iran responded by targeting Gulf countries aligned with the United States, raising fears that the fragile ceasefire could collapse completely. However, U.S. officials have also said that technical talks with Iran are continuing, and there have been no new U.S. strikes in the most recent hours. The key concern is global oil supply. Any disruption in the Strait of Hormuz can affect oil prices, shipping costs, airline tickets, and eventually gas prices for American families. For now, the situation remains tense, with military pressure and diplomacy happening at the same time. Second, U.S. jobs market. Now to the U.S. economy. The latest weekly jobless claims data showed that new applications for unemployment benefits fell to around 215,000. That is a positive sign because it suggests companies are not cutting jobs on a large scale right now. But the labor market is still slowing down. Hiring has become more competitive, and many companies are taking longer to fill positions. Economists are calling this a slow hiring, slow firing job market. For workers, that means layoffs may be limited, but finding a new job can still take more time than before. Third, Wall Street and oil prices. Wall Street is also reacting to the mix of economic data and global tension. Stocks have seen mixed movement as investors watch oil prices, inflation, and the risk of a wider conflict in the Middle East. Technology shares help support parts of the market, but uncertainty remains high. Oil prices are especially important right now. If the Strait of Hormuz situation gets worse, energy prices could rise quickly. That could increase costs for transportation, delivery services, airlines, and everyday products across the United States. Fourth, Maine Senate race shock. A major political story is developing in Maine. Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner has suspended his campaign after a sexual assault allegation. The decision has created a major problem for Democrats, who are trying to compete for control of the U.S. Senate. Maine is an important state in the national political map. Now Democrats may need to choose a replacement candidate quickly, while Republicans will likely try to use the controversy as a campaign issue. This story could become much bigger as the next election gets closer. Fifth, immigration and ICE controversy. Immigration is also back in the headlines. The family of a Mexican immigrant who was killed during an encounter with an ICE agent in Texas is demanding an independent investigation. The case is increasing pressure on the federal government over immigration enforcement and accountability. At the same time, the Trump administration continues its tougher immigration approach, including deportation operations and expanded detention planning. Supporters say stricter enforcement is needed to control illegal immigration. Critics argue that federal agencies must be transparent and protect the rights and safety of migrants, families, and U.S. citizens. Sixth, Colorado governor race. Another political update comes from Colorado. Republican candidate Victor Marx has won the party's primary for governor in a close race. He will now face Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser in the general election. The Colorado governor race is expected to attract national attention because it could show how voters are reacting to the country's political direction ahead of the next major elections. Both parties are expected to spend heavily, and the campaign is likely to focus on the economy, public safety, immigration, and state policy. The biggest story to watch is the USA-Iran situation because it could affect oil prices, global markets, and U.S. foreign policy very quickly. Subscribe to NeuralWire News for daily USA news in clear English. Comment below, which story should we cover in detail next?